All right, so I'm going to go on something that it's called Bitcoin. It made me $15,000 in 1 month. 1 month. It's a very educated decision about how I made the allocations, made the moves, and when I got in. And I just kind of want to explain about it. Even though you get these massive gains during the initial bump, it's still going to go up. It's going to take longer to go up. So we're talking like 3 months again before it splits and doubles again. But it can be traded. It can be done safely. But I kind of wanted to explain the logic behind it and how it made me money and how it's going to grow in the future. So Bitcoin is what's called a cryptocurrency. It's a new asset class. It's been out about 10 years. It's complicated to kind of understand the technology. Not very many people understand it completely, but it is kind of distributed currency. It is becoming more mainstream. So you see banks getting into it, traders getting into it, governments getting into it. So it's still early, but the first wave of first adopters has already been in and already made a lot of millionaires so far. So very profitable, but extremely consistent growth. Now, so I was tracking this at about 200. I got in at about $1,000 of Bitcoin. That's where, and it just keeps on going up every day. And when you see this kind of escalation, because this is an inflation protected asset, it reflects kind of the gold movements unsuppressed. It's really a sign that there's trouble with currencies, and that's absolutely accurate. So there was two different things. There was Canadian bank collapses. There was the Japanese making it legal tender in Japan. And you see these two moves, plus one thing my client advised me on, and that was when I was on 1,000, says banks are going to be experimenting with this currency to see if it can protect them from inflation, because they're worried about having their reserves and having nothing to do with it when you get this hyper escalation, hyperinflation. Okay, so here's where I got in, $15,000. Right now, I said it doubled, so it's doubled at 2,000. But as you can see, day by day, it's bumping up $50 a day. So incredible moves at this point, incredible interest. And even though it seems like, well, maybe this is played out, it really isn't. This is a tiny market, about $70 billion. There's $1,000 trillion, $1,000 trillion, so a quadrillion dollars in the market, waiting on the edges, and they're going to jump into Bitcoin because this is really one of the only safe havens. You see that in Greece, even the people ran from Greece, put their money into Bitcoin, or they bought items that didn't lose value, so they bought TVs and resold them. But that's a pain. You still get lost on shipping. You still get lost on conversion. Okay. So this is what you do. You basically put your money. You're limited to about $10,000 a week. I'm probably going to be opening several accounts just so I can take volume at once. But as you can see, you could put $40,000. You would have had $80,000 in a month. This is 1 month's time. It was $500 a year ago. $2,000. So it's 4 times the growth in 1 year. There's nothing that's returning this big. And while this is exciting, and while there's plenty of money to be made, it's really a sign of how unhealthy currencies are right now. They go to this because it's limited. It can't be printed unlimited. There's only 21 million by the math. So the genius of this program, it keeps a ledger of all owed debts and all purchases, and it is a distributed network. So this is the future of money. It really has legs. So here's the other things that you should realize as far as what I'm privy to. So I have been studying it for 2 years. I'm aware of its movements. I understand when to trade. So during these bumps, every time I saw a 5% dip, I was able to jump out at the dip, wait till it bottomed, which is usually $200-300 bottom, and then get it at the bottom and ride the wave up. But you see very, very consistent Sometimes you had to wait a month for a bump. But when you see these jumps, you see it rising. So I have been in since right here, and I was able to kind of multiply my money. Now, so I mean it's a predictable market. You can jump in and jump out quickly. This is outstanding for day trading. Not as risky as you would think. We do take precautions. So I didn't store all my currency on it. There's another $30,000 in a separate account, in a lockdown account. So it's ready to move in. It's on deck, but it's secure. You generally keep your money off the exchanges. But this is independent of any kind of government inflation. So this is just kind of what you got to realize. Again, it's not something you're going to be able to get a head around completely, but in this type of environment, the Bitcoin, so if we want to be reasonable at it, you go with a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. So metal and silver, always protected value. You can put about $20,000, expect at least at the minimum to get the full $600,000 with the wealth preservation in that alone. So in the gold and silver, that'll do that. This will actually do multiples. So you can get at least $600,000, but the potential is much more higher because this is so easy to get into, and you're going to see people looking for safe havens. This is the only one left. When they do have the gold shortages and silver shortages, which seems laughable, I understand, but when you look at the scope of history, when you look at the production levels, India and China alone are eating up all the silver in physical demand. So we're off of resources right now, we're off of reserves, and I'm already seeing shortages. So basically when people don't have that as a safe haven, the smart money is going to get into the metals and silvers, will go into Bitcoin. And that's going to be people's only options. Again, we missed the first wave as far as doubling within a month. It's going to take another 4 months to double again. But, this is an outstanding platform. And I could basically deliver your base credit back to you within a year maximum. This is how certain about these moves. So here are some things that isn't worked into in the price that's not well known. So there's a couple different things. So I have a Chinese client that works in IT, and he knows that the Chinese and Russians are planning. They're already planning. They're already have the systems in place to use this for trade settlement. Right now they use something called the gold note, which is a way that if China needs oil, they'll order it and they'll pay with gold. That's what Iran does now. This is how they get out of the U.S. monetary system, the taxes involved, the fees involved. Okay, it's called the SWIFT system, which is U.S. And they don't like to deal with this because it's unnecessary middleman. So right now they use gold. Now they're actually using physical gold, so they have costs of transportation, and by the time that margin covers it, it's 10-15%. They're going to use, and they're already running tests on it right now. So there's already people settling trade. So this is intergovernmental trade moving into this. So that's from an IT guy, a China-based IT, Chinese US-based IT guy. So the other interesting thing was another financial IT guy who is in banks, who advised me on at $1,000, banks will be using this as a platform. Doubling the price, that's just a test run. They pumped a couple $100 million into this market and it went up that much. They're going to be pumping much more when things really get unstable. Which you're seeing bank runs in Canada right now. You're seeing bank runs in the Chinese, the Bank of China ATMs are shut down. So you'll see that in the news as well. So when banks want to protect themselves, they can't get immediately gold and silver. That takes time. and it's not available at the volumes, and it's tightly controlled. They don't want people to have a rush on gold. So they get into Bitcoin because this is not on a marketplace that is tightly controlled by the government. So outstanding medium, again, you're going to see this go up multiples, even though it went up 4 times in the last year. This is nowhere close to being done, just because the size of the market isn't even close. It's less than 1%, 0.01% of the world economy right now. And once you get the big players in, the hedge funds, the banks, looking for some kind of safe haven to move money into quickly, this is where you see Bitcoin go up by multiples, and you'll see this jump again. It's just not going to be right away. You're talking about 2 or 3 months before this doubles again. So you'll see that. I'll be able to send you these type of videos every week just to show you to track the week by week investment. 1 week, you're going to see positives. You're going to see ticks up $50 a day per Bitcoin. So meaning, on a $40,000 investment, you're going to see $500 jumps a day. But as you can see, the cost of entry are getting higher and higher every day. So every day we wait is another day that this gets harder into, means longer time frames to recover your investment, to protect your money. So just wanted to give you a quick intro to Bitcoin. Think very, very seriously about it. I know this is not an asset class that is everybody's familiar with, but the savvy traders, savvy banks, and institutions are completely aware of it. Again, not all of it would be going into it. Eventually, what you want to do is balance your portfolio to be about 50% metal, 50% Bitcoins. But again, this is just the very, very beginning of a huge uptrend, and every indicator is showing that. So thanks for listening. We'll talk more about this if you're interested. All right, take care.